Hey, this is Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Tusk UTV horn and signal kit on your Kawasaki KRX 1000. If you're lucky enough to own one of these KRXs, then you know how awesome they are right off the showroom floor. However, a common upgrade people like to do to their side-by-sides is to make them street legal. And the Tusk UTV horn and signal kit can help get you there, but you need to check your state and local laws to make sure that this kit is going to work for you. Now, what this kit offers, you're going to get front and rear turn signals, you're going to get a horn and a license plate frame with a light on it. You also have the option to get the kit with or without mirrors. We already have mirrors on our side-by-side, so we went with the kit without it. And you'd actually be surprised how much easier this kit is to install than you would think, because of the simple plug and play design of it. So we're gonna go ahead and show you how to get this installed on your Kawasaki KRX 1000. To do this job, we have some common hand tools. We're gonna need a drill, some drill bits. This drill bit actually came in the kit. We have rags, safety glasses, rubber gloves, and then some optional things that you don't have to have, but the way we're routing everything, we wanted to add a little bit of extra length of wire, so we're gonna solder that in. We have the heat shrink, an eyelet, and then we also sourced a 6mm bolt. This came from our Tusk bolt kit. And then we're also going to use a test light. Now, as far as parts and consumables go, we have some silicone spray that's going to help us install some of the rubber grommets. And then we have the Tusk UTV horn and signal kit. And these are all the different pieces that come in that kit. And you want to make sure you refer to your instructions that came in the kit and make sure you get everything wired up correctly. To get this kit installed, we're going to route the wiring mostly near the stock wiring harness. So we need to access that. We're going to remove our hood, and then we're also going to remove our center control panel and the left side control panel. The left side, we're just going to pull it back a little bit. Next, we'll disconnect these electrical connectors. After that, we can remove the passenger seat, and we're also going to remove all the rivets and screws for the center consoles. That way we can access the stock wiring harness to run ours next to it. Now, we're also going to remove the driver's seat. You don't have to do this, but we just want to make it easier to show the process. All right, for the side panel, we're only going to remove this Phillips head bolt, and then we have these two rivets right here. We're going to remove both of those, and we're just going to pull this out to the side just a little bit. So once you have some of these plastic covers out of the way, we can begin installing the wiring harness. Now you'll notice this wiring harness, it has one end with a lot of wires, and then the other end you have a lot less wires. Now I know this looks intimidating, but we'll make it as simple as possible. So this end with a lot of wires, we're going to keep this towards the front of the machine, and then the end with a few wires, we're going to run towards the back of the machine. So we need to route this through the firewall. So right under here, right behind where the hood goes, there's a gap, and we're just going to run the wiring through there. All right, now that we're getting to all these exposed wires, I am going to push this end. This is going to go to our relay for the flashers. I'm actually going to push that through. These other wires, I'm just going to split them in half. Doesn't matter which ones go where right now. We just want to make sure that we leave enough slack in these wires that we have room to connect our turn signals. So that's about where our turn signals are going to be. So right now, we'll just leave it like that. We're going to make final adjustments later on, but at this point we can go ahead and continue feeding the wire through all the way to the back of the machine. And we're going to follow the main wiring harness and sub wiring harnesses as much as possible. You might not be able to follow those the whole time, but try to stay close to that because you're going to avoid any pinch points, sharp corners, or hot spots, All of those things could damage the wiring harness, so just be aware of that. All right, so now that we have our wire harness in place, what we need to do is determine where we're gonna mount our turn signals. So where you're gonna put these really depends on your local and state laws, but most of the time you're gonna have one in the back and one on the side. So we're gonna put one there, and then on this side, we're gonna do the same thing. And we're using the drill bit that came in the kit to drill that out, and we're just gonna mark the spot with the Sharpie. And anytime you're drilling this out, you want to make sure that you're not going to drill into anything behind it. All right, next we're going to install this grommet. I'm going to install the light, and keep in mind it has top written into it that needs to be facing up. Now we'll install the one on the side, and we'll install the light. All right, now that we have these lights installed, we'll go ahead and do the same steps on the other side. Our next step is to install our license plate mount. So what we're going to do is mount it on this crossbar right here. We are going to need to drill holes for that. So we'll center it up and mark the places where we need to drill the holes. Now that the holes are drilled, I'm going to install the light onto the license plate mount. We'll go through the holes we just drilled. And then for the back side of that, we have our washer and our nut. Then we'll go ahead and install one of the supplied bolts with the washers on the other side. Next, we can connect the license plate wires red to red, black to black. And again, we're just leaving all the wires loose at this point. Next, we can plug in the wires that are coming from the turn signals. So on this, the positive wire coming from the harness is this orange one. This is on the left side of the rear of the machine. Black on the turn signal is the positive wire for it. So we're going to hook that into the orange wire coming from the harness. And then the white wire is the ground wire. Then we'll go ahead and do the same thing with the other signal. And then we can go ahead and do the same thing on the right side of the machine. Just keep in mind that the blue wire is the positive side on that side of the machine. Now at the front of the machine, the next step is to determine where you're going to mount your turn signals. So on this, again, you're going to want to check your state and local laws to make sure you're within compliance. But for ours, what we found, we like the look of having one facing forward right here, and then we'll mount the side signal right here. I do want to point out, we are going to have to add length if we want to run these lights right here. You don't have to do this, but the reason for that is these ends, they need to end up at the same place, and this outer one, we're not going to have enough length to run it to the harness if we do it that way. So we're actually going to cut this, solder some longer wires in there, and that way we can mount these lights where we want them. So if that's not how you want to do it, it's totally fine to go somewhere else and pick somewhere on the side and front where you can just run these into the same place and you have enough length. All right, now that we've chosen our mounting locations, we're ready to drill them out. We already marked them with a Sharpie. Now we'll take one of the white leads from our wiring harness that has the two connectors, and we're going to connect the white wires from the turn signals to it. And then for the right side turn signals, just like on the rear, what we're going to do is take our blue lead with the dual connector and connect both of the black leads from the turn signals into it. Once we have the right side connected, we'll move over to the left side of the machine, or driver's side, and this side is going to use the orange wire with dual connector for the positive. The next step is to get the horn mounted up. You can locate this wherever you want. We actually found a mounting location up on the dash. There is an existing hole with some threads in it. So what we're going to do to make this fit is we'll bend the tab on the horn, and then we're going to connect our wires on the back, the red and the green wire that has the black sheath around it. And this horn is not polarity sensitive, so you can hook either wire to either connector. And then to mount the horn, you're going to need to source a bolt. We just had a Tusk hardware pack, and we got ours out of there. Next, we'll push the remaining wires back through the firewall, and we're going to find a mounting location for the relay. Now, you can do this wherever you want, but we found this cross member right here, and we're just going to run a zip tie around it, and then we'll make our connection. There's only one connector on the harness that will fit this. The next step is to choose where you want to mount your turn signal switch and the horn, and then the turn signal switch, we also have 2 indicator lights for it as well. So we decided on this left side of the dash panel is where we're going to mount those up. So we've marked our spots. So we'll go ahead and use the 1/2" drill bit for these and the 5/16 for the indicator lights. Next, we'll install our horn switch. So to do that, I'm going to remove the plastic nut from it. I'm going to leave this other nut on the bottom, and then we'll make our electrical connections. These are the only 2 wires that are green and black that have these style of connectors on the harness. So it's really easy to locate those, and we'll just install those onto the terminals, and it doesn't matter which one goes where. And then we're going to run this on the back side of the dash over here. Just make sure you avoid any pinch points or moving parts like the steering shaft. We're just going to get this finger tight, and I'm using the back side of the switch to help get it as tight as I can. That way it's on there solid, it's not going to move around. Now, moving on to the turn signal switch, I'm going to start with this light blue wire. Again, these are the only wires that will have these connectors in these colors. We'll put that one on the outside, and then this terminal is facing down. It's going to have the dark blue wire go to that. And then we have the orange connector. It's going to go on the other side. Now on this switch, we're going to remove this plastic nut on the outside. There's also going to be this mid nut right here. We'll remove that. And then again, we'll do the same thing. We'll route it through just like this, and make sure that this switch moves side to side and not up and down. And we'll verify the switch moves side to side. The next step is to install these turn signal indicators, and then we're going to remove this nut. We'll slide these into place and install the nut on the back side. The next thing you want to do is locate the 3 wires on the wiring harness that have this style of connector. So we have our light blue, the black, and the orange. So again, the blue is going to be for the right indicator, and that's going to go to the red wire from that light. The orange is going to go to the left on the red wire, and then both black wires will go into this one. The next step is to find key on power. So on these KRXs, we actually have a power bar or bus bar, whatever you want to call it. So this one's our ground with the black wire going in, and then the positive is on this left side. And again, that is key on power, but if you want to do it somewhere else, a good place to do it, there's the 12-volt accessory socket. You can use your test light, turn your key on, and verify which wire is giving you power. Now that 12-volt accessory socket actually is labeled with the positive wire, but just to verify, you can use the test light, and you can hook into that. We're actually just going to use an eyelet that we've sourced and connect into that power bar. Now that we have everything connected up, we need to verify that everything works correctly. If the system isn't working at all, you can check that fuse from your key on power wire. Other than that, you'll need to go throughout the system and check all of your connections. Now that we've made sure that everything's wired up and installed correctly on our machine, we need to go back through and tie everything down with the supplied zip ties. Again, you just want to keep all this stuff away from any sharp edges, pinch points, moving parts, or hot areas that could melt the wires. Now that we have our wiring harness tied down, we can start getting some of these panels put into place. And that's everything there is to installing this Tusk UTV horn and signal kit on your side-by-side. This kit is available on our website, so be sure to check that out along with any other parts or accessories you need for your machine. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more helpful content. Thanks for watching.